Hello, my name is Charlie Lalonde, and I'm going to talk to you about my Radical Expressions and Equations Instructional Design unit. I can feel your excitement right now. If you're curious, that is a picture of me and my son Henry. We were hanging out at Dick's the other day and checking out some golf hats, so that was kind of neat. Had a good time with them. All right, overview. Let's get into this. So if you've read any of my modules, you know that I flipped my classroom for this unit. And so what tools did I use for this? I used Show Me to talk about or to present my lessons, Edmodo to communicate with students, Beta Socrative to assess them, and Remind 101, well, to remind them about all of these things that we had going on. And then why did I want to go this route? I'm going to talk more about this in the reflection piece, but make time for meaningful classroom activities. It came down to practice. Practice I thought was very important. I don't think I did enough of it in the past in front of me. I'll get into more of that later. This allowed me to get more time to get to know my students personally and how they understand the material. I had more time, had more energy because I wasn't in front of the classroom for 30 to 45 minutes, going over examples and doing that. They were doing a lot of the exploration on their own, or with a partner, I should say, with me around the room helping out. And so I really thought that was a nice piece to the class. Audience. 92 8th grade honors math students, a couple of just quick hitters. They all have internet access. All but 3 had some form of mobile device. Some worked better than others, so I always brought the iPads in the classroom in case the student had any difficulty with theirs, or they just wanted to use the big screen iPad. It was really up to them. And then most are fairly motivated. The issues or the problems that I saw before we started, that students just struggle with this unit. They have very little previous experience working with radicals. On the surface, this stuff looks very different from the problems we worked on previously. I try to show them that they're really not that different. There's a lot of similarities, but on the surface, they look very different and kind of scary for a lot of kids. Many concepts taught early in the year are revisited, so we are seeing these concepts, especially some of the recent, like Chapter 10 and 9 stuff, again in this unit, which is a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing because they get to revisit these and they get to see these concepts and review them, so it's a great way to spiral the material. And a bad thing because if they're really struggling with that piece, they're going to struggle with the new piece. When we make it a little more complicated, it's going to be even more difficult. So kind of a good bad there. The needs assessment. Root cause, again, very little experience outside of using a calculator. So if you type in the square root of 3 is 1.73, but in an algebra class, that doesn't help you very much. That rounded number, you can't do a lot with it. An exact answer like the square root of 3 or 2 square roots of 3 or a square root of 5 is a much easier symbol, I almost want to call it, to deal with than a rounded answer. Many of these things cancel out, so getting them comfortable with these radicals early on in the unit is essential. End of the year blues, motivation for learning something this new is not very high in May and the beginning of June. And in algebra, I start to notice, I've taught all 3 middle school levels, and this is really where parents kind of begin to struggle helping. So they've always had that lifeline in the past at home, and I thought, well, if that's not really there, maybe I need to be their lifeline in the classroom, so let's get our practice in front of me. Goal, 70% or higher in the exam. We had all but 5 kids achieve that, and 3 of the 5 retook it and scored that 70 or higher. So I was really happy with the outcomes here, and I wanted to give them an online experience. So high schools are going to this. I thought it was very important to give them this kind of experience in a very, I don't want to call it low-stress environment. So we're just kind of wading our way through this experience together, and it gets them to see, just another avenue that they're going to have to get used to as they get older. Prerequisite skills. This was probably the biggest eye-opener for me. Breaking down a unit in the detail that ADDIE requires was something that, one, I didn't think I had that much time for, especially the testing part. And I know that ADDIE, our book mentions that this is the most skipped portion of the ADDIE model, is this assessment or analyzing portion. And I can see why. I've always thought, man, this is just too much time to put in. I need to get teaching. I want to just hit the ground running here, when a lot of this groundwork is essential That really changed how I looked at the unit, how I'm going to look at units as we're moving forward. So going back to the start of the year next year. And until you write these kind of things down on paper, you may have them in your head, but until you see that list in front of you, I think you're probably doing your lesson a disservice. It is important. I just didn't realize how much went into this unit until I wrote this stuff down. I thought that was very important. Instructional strategies. What did I do? So at home, students were looking at show me's, Edmodos. They were writing whisks, maybe a few extra problems here and there. And then in the classroom, these kind of big activities I'm going to discuss in these next slides. So show me. Early show me for me was substitute lesson plan. So in my lesson plan, log in, open this page, click on this, and the students would watch the videos, go through it, and then I would have actually taught the lesson then, and then they could do their problems instead of just firing worksheets when there's a sub. I'm out of the building a lot because I'm on a lot of different committees, and I just couldn't leave that many days out. So this was one way early in the year for me to get around that. I could actually still be teaching. In fact, I did it for a lot of other math teachers that were out for illnesses. Just did a show me for them quickly, and then they didn't lose those days, which they appreciated. Beta Socrative. I had to cut out the names and some other things to protect the innocent. But anyway, you can see this is kind of the itemized list. The issue when I looked at this the first time was the end of May. This was the last Beta Socrative quiz we took. You can see column 4 there, 71%. Not bad, but it was a distributing radicals problem, and it wasn't the distributing part they missed. It was more of the pulling out the perfect square after they did. So simplifying after they did the distributive property. And that was really what was asked of them in example 1. So I knew they knew the skill. They just missed that portion. So we always said, is there meat left on that bone? Some of them, 29% of them didn't see that. So we went over that and just, kind of a little reminder to make sure you're looking for that perfect square factor after you've done something to a radical. I thought it was great. Whisks. Another thing, I got this at McCall this year. Watch, summarize, and question. So the first two are pretty self-explanatory. Question, the thing I liked about it was the second part, questions you think somebody might have. So they can't just say, no, I didn't have any questions. They have to come up with something, whether it's the interesting question or a question they actually think somebody might have or a question they actually have. So this kind of was the accountability piece. Students would either turn it in when they walked in the door or we discussed them as they sat down. Here's the around the room review. Love this activity. Had done it a couple years in the past, but never really thought I had the time. With opening up the classroom for this, we definitely had more time to do stuff like this. It's hard to see in here, but the very bottom of the piece of paper there is the question they're working on. The top part was the answer to the question they were working on before. So that was located somewhere else in the room. If they couldn't find their answer, they probably had it wrong. It was a great way for them to self-assess and then come ask me questions as they need to. Great activity. If you're a math teacher, try this. It is awesome, and the kids love moving around. You give them 15 problems to do on their desk, they can't finish them. You give them the around the room problems, they finish them in 15, 20 minutes. It's awesome. Whiteboard activities. Put a whiteboard in front of a 8th grade student, and they're all about writing all over it. They're like, all of a sudden, they want to show all their work. Great activity. I usually have them show them up in increments, like step 1, step 2, step 3, so I can kind of track and help out as necessary that way. And then front to back review, great vocabulary builder here. So you can see the word radicans on the board. The people facing the board are giving them clues about the vocabulary word they have to guess, like charades. They can't say any word like rhymes with or anything like that. They just have to try to get them to say that word. Implementation. Night before, students watch video, reflect, or practice on problems. They come in. There's usually warm-up questions, maybe from prerequisite concepts or issues we had from data I got earlier from the last lesson. Practice, usually in groups of with about 15 problems. So getting a lot more practice, and then assessment at the end of the hour. Ticket out the door, 1 or 2 problems. They either put on a piece of paper or put in Beta Socrative. If there was a half sheet of paper, I put the right ones on the bottom as they were walking out and the incorrect ones on top, so I knew exactly who was struggling with the material. And then a quiz usually covered 3 to 4 concepts using Beta Socrative. You saw the output of that last one. It's great. I can't tell you how nice it is to have that information quickly. I know my principal was in a lesson. She saw that, and she was very impressed that I was able to go to my computer screen, see somebody struggling, and go help them before they finished their quiz. I was able to give them a hand before they had to turn in this, higher stakes, not high stakes, but higher stakes assessment. Evaluation. We talked about it. Ticket out the door, lesson quizzes, classroom activities. All of these things were a way for me to assess the students as they were progressing through the unit. Summative, end of the unit test, which again we did very well on, and a survey didn't get to. We wanted to do I told the students that we would do a lip sync contest at the end of the year. Our test was the second to last day, so we had fun on that last day. So I didn't get to that survey. Next year we should have time as long as we don't have 9 snow days. Changes, lesson plan, split one of the lessons into 2 lessons. It was the equations one. Change the ticket out the door in lesson 5 from paper and pencil to beta Socrative. Implementation, added a technology sheet for any subs, like how to log into all these sites, how to use them. Added important contact numbers, the librarian for the iPad stuff, and basic technology questions. And then my technology partner across the hall, contact information for him so he can come in and help with anything. And then the evaluation added that survey. There's a copy of it in the final paper. Reflections. I'm was a volleyball coach until this little guy came around, and I was always wondered how I could make kids in volleyball practice a basic skill 100 times before I made them, maybe not 100, but many times before I made them ever do it at a higher and higher level. And that's kind of what the ADDIE model gets you to do in those lesson plans. Is it's kind of like I do, we do, they do, and in volleyball it's small, medium, and then game speed. And I always wanted my classroom to kind of mimic that, but it was always tough finding time for that practice. I keep saying it, and that's really when I wanted to see my classroom. Like I wanted them to be practicing the little skills and the bigger skills, and then do things on their own. And using the ADDIE model to break down what needed to be taught, what needed to be learned, and then progressing and how I was going to fit that into a lesson. I thought I really learned a lot from that. I know my last few master's classes here at Saginaw Valley, I have taken major portions of those classes and implemented in my classroom, and I'm ecstatic. It's really changed the way I've presented material in my classroom, so I was very happy with that. Again, it's the ADDIE model and the detail that you have to put into, especially that early detail, is what I really appreciated about the model. I thought a lot of the other stuff I kind of had a decent handle on, but really breaking it down and putting it in writing, where you see what needs to be done, what you expect of your students, I thought was really powerful for me in my class. I was trying to find a way to word that in my reflection piece in Module 6 about the coaching and how it's different, how I use data in my coaching to make changes in my practice plans or to decide what part of the game we're going to work on next. And I wanted my classroom to look just like that, a very regimented, data-driven classroom, and I think I achieved that this year. So thanks you very much. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. Sorry it's a little long, and have a great summer, guys.